Hey, what's going on, folks? I hope you had a good week. I hope you enjoyed your weekend. I hope it was productive. I hope you're not dreading Monday morning. Y'all may see this video by Monday or Tuesday. I don't know. Uh, just finished up some training earlier, some basic training. Nothing crazy. I'm not in ultra training right now. Not that y'all give a shit, and you shouldn't, but just 5 miles and some pull-ups, push-ups, crunches. Got home, did some yard work, got in our blue-collar pool, and I'm still a little bit sunburned, pretty drained. And whether it's late afternoon, early evening where you're at, we're in Texas. And if you're in Texas, it's pretty fucking hot right now. I'm a summertime person. I love summer. And I still would take the heat over the cold any day. But it has been pretty miserable lately with no wind blowing and fucking humidity. I've had to make the adjustments on my training. And because I'm not in ultra training right now and I'm just maintaining, that's okay. But come time for ultra training in about 4 more weeks, I need to be back on track. It won't matter what weather it is, I'm going to have to do it anyway. So, either you don't, people like me, or me specifically, when you see me on here, you're like, I don't want to hear that motherfucker, or you do, or even if you don't, you still listen anyway, so you can try to maybe shoot holes or through what I say or something like that. Either way, you're gonna fucking listen most likely, and even if you try to shoot holes through or try to dissect or analyze anything I say, usually I have an answer for you, a reasonable response. And usually if you're angry and you're pissed off and you get mad, just because you get mad, just because you're angry, doesn't mean you have any more legitimate position. Doesn't mean you have any position at all. Sometimes you're just angry and offended, and that's your fucking problem. It's not our problem. So talking about keeping it real before I get started, because that's, unlike what most people do. They don't keep it real. What you post is not what you live, and what you say doesn't match up with your actions. So I did all that today, and I'm in my truck because I have a reasonable amount of dogs, and I'm not afraid to say that. And it was just the light was wrong. It was noisy, and I had just went to the store. I had a couple errands to run, and I didn't really want to get back out. And I just said, well, the AC is cold, I'm gonna go ahead and do it here. So I went inside and poured me a mimosa. One of my favorite drinks of choice. I've really not been a beer guy the last couple of years. If I'm at the lake, if I'm at the beach, or I'm in the pool, or I'm working outside, I'll drink some beer. When I go inside, I don't want any beer anymore. And I got my vape too. Y'all probably don't like that either. Don't give a fuck. So let's talk about something. I just did a podcast on it, and since most of us we care more about what celebrities and athletes say and what they stand for than we do anything else. And let's not forget just people with money in general that we consider successful, even if we don't know how they made their money or what family they came from or what inheritance they got. If they worked hard, maybe they did, maybe they didn't. Just stuff like that. So let's talk about this real quick. I try to stay away from religion and politics. I'm not religious, don't care about politics. I am proud to be an American. I am, I could say, guess I'm proud to be a middle-aged white guy, but I would be proud if I was a black guy or Hispanic guy too. So I am who I am, and I don't have an apology for it. But if I was somebody else, I guess I would be okay with that too. But I don't know what it's like to be those people. I only know what it's like to be me. So I just did a podcast on this, and I feel like it was necessary to do this. It's going to piss some of y'all off, and that's your fucking problem. It's not our problem. And just remember, when you try to censor people, or you censor one side, or the minority, the small percentage of people gets their way, and you censor the majority. That's what's been going on for some years now, and that's not the territory we should be in. for those of you that don't understand what water we're treading on and what direction we're going, that's communism. Unless it's that I try not to give my opinion. I try to give my experience and my journey. But the truth is, when you silence one side and you let other people speak, no matter if you agree with it or not, that's going towards communism. And that's what we're going towards. For those that don't understand that, you can't silence one side, let another side speak, and only push their agenda down everyone's throat and expect that we're going to have the same freedoms that this country was found on. That's not how it works. So it's not about what I think. It's not about what I want. It's about what is right for everyone. And we should be censoring no one. Doesn't matter how offended you get. Doesn't matter how much you're in your feelings. It doesn't matter how much you get pissed off. We're not supposed to sit around and agree with each other. That's not the way this is supposed to be. Unless it's the exploitation of children, unless it's directly a racist attack, things like that. Y'all know where I'm going with this. And you can pick it apart however you want to. I don't give not one fuck at all. And that bothers you because some of y'all try to pretend like you don't give a fuck, but really you give a lot of fucks. So reporting people is for bitches and snitches. That's what it is. Why don't you listen to it? Why don't you give feedback? It doesn't matter that we all agree. See, we live in a society that we've created where we think our circle, our clique, our constituents, our family, our friends, whatever you consider that. Maybe it's one or both, or maybe you think they're friends and they're just acquaintances. Maybe, like me, people often tell me, well, you know a lot of people. And I said, yeah, I mean, you're friends with a lot of people. I go, well, I know a lot of people. I don't think that they're friends necessarily. Doesn't mean I wish them bad, doesn't mean I have anything against them, but at this point, we just know each other, that's it. I don't have a lot of people I consider friends anymore. But I don't care what their political view is. I don't care what their religion is. I don't care what their sexual preference is, as long as it's not hurting anyone. As long as they're not shoving it down my throat. That's not what's going on now. There's a lot of things that's being shoved down our throat. And what we've done is we've dropped the bridge and gave a green light for certain people to push their agenda and to shove shit down our throats. And we're supposed to be okay with it, but we can't offer no opposition. See, being friends, being family, having loved ones, being acquaintances doesn't mean we're supposed to all agree with each other. We can agree to disagree. But to the offended, everything is an attack. Everything feels like an attack that's the truth. The truth doesn't care about your fucking feelings. It's based upon facts. But most people, excuse me, aren't going to do their research to even see if it's true or seek any knowledge. They know what they've been told. They know what they've been believing their whole life, whether it be by their parents or grandparents, their teachers, pastor, father, whatever religion, whatever their co-workers think. Most of y'all are persuaded. Most of you are influenced. I know you don't want to believe that. Most of you are influenced. Most of you are peer pressure. You're not compelled. You're not driven. My vape. Beach day. Perfect for me. I want to talk about this Jason Aldean thing. I try not to get in these categories, but this is too good not to. So since y'all care so much about celebrities, athletes, professional athletes, because I'm an athlete, but I'm not a professional athlete, obviously, or people with money that you deem successful, we seem to be really interested in their life. We think what they say is more important than what we say or somebody else says. I often say this, and people that know me, that really know me, said if I was a professional athlete or celebrity, working on my book notes I've been working on for years, my podcast, anything I have, people would be eating it up. Know my story from when I was a child to now, and what I didn't become. I didn't become a statistic. That I am the exception to the rule. But I'm not wealthy financially. I'm not in that spotlight, nor do I give a fuck. I help the people that I need to help. The people that need to hear my message, that want to hear my message, that want to take it for what it's worth, they hear it. And that's why I will not stop my podcast or stop my videos or anything I'm doing. The people that need to hear it, if it's 2 out of 200 or 2,000, it doesn't matter. The people that need to hear it, whether they want to hear it or not, hear it. And if they know how I live my life, then if it's helpful in any way, without enabling, without making excuses, without bypassing accountability, through discipline, it's a fucking journey, then I'm serving my purpose in this life. And that is part of my purpose and part of my journey and part of my mission. So I want to talk about this for a minute. So Jason Aldean apparently got his song pulled from the radio. I just been keeping up with it on Instagram and Facebook. I haven't did real specific detail. I'm gonna say this, so y'all can pick this apart any way you want to, and you can take it however the fuck you want to. Me personally, love Jason Aldean. Love his music. Haven't seen him in concert. I regret that. I love most of his stuff. I love what he stands for. I like the song, "Don't Try This in a Small Town," or what is it? "Try This in a Small Town," or whatever. I went and watched the video a couple times on YouTube just so I would have at least done my homework a little bit. I don't see a problem with it. If you see racist in it, that's because maybe you might be a racist. And let me remind you, being a white male, middle-aged white male, and if you watch this video and we grew up together, you know me, I'm the white guy who's not white. And we'll get to that in a minute. Wife's Hispanic. Got Hispanic grandkids. Grew up in a predominantly black community. I wasn't from one of those white families. It's not racist or prejudiced at all from what I see. And I see things that are racist in other white people that other white people don't acknowledge or don't see or don't want to talk about. I see it. I address it. I acknowledge it. I stand with Jason Aldean's song. I'm glad he's standing his ground. What I want to talk about is the mentality behind "Try That in a Small Town." Y'all already know this is going if you know me. There ain't enough time with the fucking memory I have on this fucking phone to talk about shit in a small town. So, depending on where you were raised, maybe you have a different perception. I try not to give opinion. I try to give my own experience and my own journey. So raised in a town right around here, Waxahachie, Texas. Do I love the town? I love it. I care about people in it. I have a lot of great memories. Spent over 4 decades here. Didn't want to. I don't know that I wish anybody bad here. It's still my main residence. I live in a smaller town outside of that. And I lived in other small towns. So when we moved here about 40, this is just, again, my experience, my journey. And a lot of other people have this as well. The people that don't understand what I'm about to say, and I'm going to miss some stuff, I know I am, is the people who are not part of this. You're part of the good old boy system. You're from those families. It doesn't mean families with money. It means you're part of that family, or you're indoctrinated with these towns and generations and shit like that. I used to get mad about it because I didn't understand it. But I'm going to touch base on just some key points. Moved here 43, 44 years ago. I've left a couple times and came back. I trapped myself here at a young age, not knowing I was trapping myself. Grew up here, played sports here, bought homes here, worked a job here for 20 plus years. Never did drugs, never went to prison. I feel like I've been a reasonably productive member of the community. that doesn't matter if you're not from the right family. And I'm not a good old boy. I want to get that out of the way. I'm not a good old boy. If you consider yourself a good old boy, if you don't know what a good old boy means, then you're not a good old boy. I'm not a good old boy. Because I have a different definition of what a good old boy means. We often call people good people and good old boys just because we like them, because we grew up around them. Our families are connected. That ain't what I consider a good old boy. So I've been in this community about 43 years. Moved here when I was 4 years old. My dad got killed. And just me, my mom, and grandmother. I didn't have a brother till I was almost 14, and he was raised he wasn't really raised here at all. So when I was growing up, I never understood why people ask who your folks are. Who's your folks? Where they from? And sometimes, in all fairness, they were just seeing if they knew them. I do the same thing now. See, in all fairness. Because a lot of my friends and classmates, kids, I don't know them. I don't even recognize them. You know, it's crazy. We spent so much time together growing up, and I see people's kids, and because some of us who had kids young, we have kids that are late 20s going into 30, and we have grandkids, so I wouldn't recognize them. If I seen them, I wouldn't know who they are now. So I'm like, oh wow, sometimes I forget how old I am, you know. But sometimes they were asking to see if they were going to accept you into their group or clique. I look back now, and some of these people, even in school, I realize now they really wasn't shit. They might have came from there. It doesn't necessarily mean a family with money. This came from the right starting point. And kind of like me, for example, I was a white guy raised in the hood. So the people I went to school with or hung out with or played sports with at that time, and there was a lot of time I was a knucklehead, no doubt. Always an athlete, but I was always rowdy, you know, no doubt. Got in a lot of fights. Went through a little spell, I drank too much, but other than that was it. And I had my friends at school, and then I had my friends I grew up with. I usually was that white guy that didn't get invited to the other white people's house. That's true. Some of y'all know who you are if you listen to this video. They never knew our story. Not just me, there's a few people like me. They didn't know that my mom, and a lot of stuff was her fault. Some of them didn't even know that till now. We didn't know you moved here because your dad got murdered. We didn't know that you didn't have siblings. We didn't know that you didn't have family. We didn't know that you had to move out at 16. We didn't know that your mom struggled, and a lot of that was her fault. They just knew that I lived over there. So they put me in that category. Well, that's what we do in small towns. So the perception of what I see of Jason Aldean's song is try that in a small town. I guess it's, you're not coming to take our guns away. We stick together. We take care of our own. And hey, I'm all about it. Look, I'm all about America. I'm all about freedom. I'm not a big gun guy, but I'm all about our gun rights. I'm all about whatever you think about God. I'm a God-believing man, but I'm not a religious man whatsoever. Don't want to be. But a lot of that's bullshit. Not the song, the mentality. So when I moved to Waxahachie, I'm just using Waxahachie because that's what I'm using as an example. And I left a couple of times, came back. I guess it was about 10,000 people back then. I guess it's probably between 40 and 50,000 now. Is that still considered a small town? I guess in a metropolitan or urban area, maybe like downtown Dallas or Fort Worth or Houston or San Antonio, I guess that's still considered small. 40 to 50,000. So in these little other communities around here, like the town we live in, I'm not gonna say the name, it doesn't matter, because I lived in other towns like this. 2,800 people. So I can tell you this, there's probably 3 or 4 families in this town. You'd be surprised how many of them are related. These towns of under 3,000 or under, they're nearly all fucking related. Not everybody in the same family. It's usually 3 or 4 families that occupy everything. It's usually 3 or 4 families that own all the businesses. It's usually 3 or 4 families that own all the land, and that they all monopolize everything. Nothing against that. I look back now, I used to get pissed about it when I was younger. So with my first family and my 2 oldest kids, I lived in another small town about this size. I was a home owner before I was 21, owned land too. Not a felon, not cutting anybody down who is, hadn't been in prison, didn't do drugs, coached Little League, coached 3 or 4 sports in the town, was a productive tax-paying citizen. I remember I got approached to go to a city council meeting. Do you know they wouldn't even let me on the agenda? There's people that can verify this. When I went and did my homework, I realized that everyone on the city council was the preceding generation's family. They never let me on the agenda. After that, and after I contested it, and after I caused a fucking stir unapologetically, I had a car I was remodeling. It was a project car. I got a ticket on my car. It came to my house for a code violation. Just started nitpicking me. This is real shit that goes on. Good old boys. If you're a good old boy, you don't know what not being a good old boy is. You hear people say it's good old boys, hard-working women and men. Hey, you know, there's a lot of hard-working people in these small towns. There's a lot of hard-working people in big towns because they do something different. Let me give you an example. The town we live in right now, where I'm sitting, Dallas, Texas, downtown, middle of Dallas, is 30 miles up the road. A lot of people live significantly different. They dress different. They live in different. Maybe they don't live in houses with property on farms. Nothing wrong. There's a lot of hard-working. This is a farming community. I don't care if I live here or not. I have a house here. Nothing against anybody. I don't associate with anybody. I got nothing to say about them either way. There's a handful of men that are up at this store every morning. I rarely go in there. I might get gas and get something to drink occasionally. I nod my head, say good morning, and I leave. They're all out front gossiping. I can hear them. They gossip more than women. That's what I heard. That's what I heard with my own ears. It's not what somebody else told me. I don't want no part of that. If I lived in that other town, ex-wife, 2 older kids, they hassled me after that, but I didn't. I wasn't gonna. I ain't gonna fold. I ain't gonna buckle. But I just look at that. I looked at how many people were only getting to know me to tell other people other information. This stick together shit. Let me tell you what my perception of a small town is. So I'm not picking on anybody's religion, most small towns in Texas, there's usually a couple of Baptist churches. They're usually fundamental or Southern Baptist. I'm going to say this, it's going to piss y'all off. Never met a more group of judgmental people than those. If you really want to get judged, be a different color, dress different, think outside. You don't have to do anything crazy. Just don't be like them. Don't be from here. Try to start a business here. Try to run for city council. There are probably a few exceptions to the rule. Fuck, I'm the exception to the rule in a lot of things. I didn't become a statistic. And it pisses people off sometimes. They expected us to turn out a lot different. They expected us to go away. They expected us to be suffering more than we are. That's where discipline comes in. I can remember being in that town, the other town, years ago. I moved out of that town over 20 years ago. Some Oriental people tried to open up a business. They weren't from there. Super nice from what my experience was. They made their life so fucking miserable they left. I don't know what's going on there now. I ain't been there in 20-something years. Same thing happens here. That's why I don't associate with nobody. Let me tell you something else y'all may not want to hear. COVID exposed a lot of things. It exposed a lot of things with employers. It exposed a lot of things with employees. It exposed a lot of things in people in small towns. Oh, we stick together. Don't come over here fucking around. We're like a family. When they mean they're like a family, a lot of them are like an inbred family. That's what they mean. They mean they can damn near kill each other. They can hate on each other, put knives in each other's backs, but no one else can come from the outside and do that. You know, kind of like we defend our children and our family. Like, we're not mad because it was said, we're mad because it's true. And when all this shit was going on with the vaccine, I'm not criticizing anybody who did or didn't do it. For us, we're a no-go. We stood our ground. For any of all of our family, we're proud of our decision. And deep down, the people that feel like they made the wrong decision for doing it actually look at us and go, fuck man, y'all didn't buckle. You don't have to look up to us for money or material things, any of that shit. We don't even give a fuck about that stuff. That's superficial, surface shit. but they won't say it. There's a lot of y'all that feel like y'all made the wrong decision. I got people that had it in my own family. I went and had a beer with one of my buddies. We talked about it for 2 fucking minutes. He's about vaccinations. I wasn't. That was as far as it went. We talked about life, and we talked about music. We talked about other things. Don't give a fuck. But some of y'all didn't pressure. We didn't never pressure y'all. Politics, religion, vaccine, nothing like y'all did us. We stood our ground, and for me and my family, we didn't buckle. We're willing to give up some shit. We don't have much now. We're willing to give up stuff. We're willing to sacrifice even more. We made the right decision for us. I watch people argue and nearly fucking have a falling out. Fights, arguments, everything right here in this small town over people that, look, nobody cares if you got the vaccine. I tell you what I told one family member. No one gave a fuck that you got it. But you shouldn't have got on social media and talked all that shit. You got on there and talked all that shit that you weren't going to do it, you weren't going to be forced to do it, and the first time you thought you were going to lose your job or they threatened you, you fucking did it. This video ain't about that. You buckled, and they knew you would. And then what did a certain individual say on the Joe Rogan podcast? I encourage y'all to go listen to that. He said sooner or later they're going to tell you it was your decision. I knew they would do that. Well, we really didn't make you. You threatened me with my job. Then if you threaten me with my job, I might not have a mortgage. I might lose my house. I might lose my car. I might lose my truck. I might not be able to pay on my lake house. I might not have my boat. I may not be able to pay my credit cards. I may not be able to support my kids. We just threatened you. We persuaded you. We influenced you. And you did it. Well, let me tell you, most of y'all don't. Most people, it's not your own decisions. It's influence. It's peer pressure. So although I stand with Jason, not that it matters where we stand, he doesn't give a fuck. I love that he's making this fucking stand. I love Jason Aldean. That's my personal preference. I love his music. I love what he stands for. I love that he's not fucking backpedaling and fucking changing his mind. And I hope he fucking don't, just to make people fucking happy. But this small town shit, the only one of y'all are all about it, like try that in a small town and that we all stick together and we're all one unit, is you're part of the fucking indoctrinated unit. You're part of the fucking good old boy system. You think people like us were part of the good old boy system? If we were part of the good old boy system, we wouldn't be sitting here saying this shit. Even some of my friends are part of the good old boy system and they fucking know it. We ain't mad at you. Especially if you've changed. Let me tell you what I told some people that I dearly love. I love these people. They were telling me that I was from here and this was my community a while back. I think y'all all know what happened. I think all of y'all know what I have to deal with the rest of my life. If you met me, you wouldn't even know. I said, I ain't from here like y'all are from here. What do you mean? I said, y'all are 3 or 4 generations deep around here. Parents from here. They might be 70 or 80 if you're our age. Yeah, their parents were from here. Yeah. Well, their parents from here. I said, even if you don't subscribe to that mentality, you're still part of that. It doesn't mean you came from money. It means you're in. The only way you don't know that is if you're us. I said, I moved here when I was 4 because my dad got killed. I always thought I was from here until all this shit happened. It's very aware that I'm not from here now. They always say, you see these little things on social media, lose your house, lose your job, go broke, get a divorce, file bankruptcy, start over, go to jail, whatever it is. Well, I've been through most of that except prison and drugs. Never even enticed me. I guess people kind of thought I was going that direction even though I was an athlete, but I've been through bankruptcy, I've been through divorce, I've been through business loss, I've been through foreclosure. You have a problem with one of your family members and one of your children. You'll see how many people that you know your entire fucking life that know every fucking thing about you. They know what kind of worker you've been, they know what kind of father you've been, they know what kind of son you've been, they know what kind of friend you've been. See how quick they change their perception and their opinion and how they treat you publicly versus privately when they're around other people talking who or don't like it. See, most of y'all's decision or perception of someone is not based off of your own decisions or your own experience. It's based off of someone else's. Especially, we get back to this again, especially in these small towns with families. I mean, I get it all the time. Someone else in the family don't like me. I didn't do anything to them. I may not even done nothing to that person. This is just me. Someone else gave them information, and because it's family, well, mama don't like him. Well, sister don't like him. There's other towns like this. There's a whole other town in the other part of Texas. I love everybody in that community. I'll probably never be around them again. They heard something. They didn't go find it out for themselves. Someone else told them that was an elder, or we defend family at all costs. That's the mentality. Is defend family at all costs, even if they're wrong. It's particularly common among boys. I want to talk about this later too. Let me tell you something else. If you want to know why there's such problems with men and boys, it's because most of the women allow them to be adolescent and irresponsible their entire lives. That's why. That pisses y'all off, I know. It's true. You allow them to be irresponsible and act up and say it's just boys, and y'all clean up their mess, and you end up raising grown men, man-child. So a lot of the women from the past generation raise their husbands. So, then they continue to do that with their boys, and they get pissed off at anybody that tells them anything. So anyway, I'm get off track a little bit. So some of us know exactly where we stand in a small town. So I'm not saying it can't be that people don't stick together, but it's the family, don't fuck with my family mentality. Not okay, if I come up on one of my family members, what I consider family, and they need help, or they're getting jumped, or beaten, or whatever it is, I'm not going to ask questions first. I'm going to go help them, and then we'll sort it out later. But when we know how they are, we know what they're about, we're pissed because it's true most of the time, because we help create those people. And that's why people feel safe and stay in those little small towns. It's not because it's better. It's not because they have better morals. It's not because they have a better value system. That's a mentality. It's what y'all told yourself. And that's what's wrong right now. As you told yourself because you live in a specific town, because you're a small town. You have better morals. Your religion's better. Your standards are better. Your morals are better. Your way of living is better because you're simple. Because you don't do this, or you don't do drugs, or whatever it is. Y'all know it's true. So you judge everyone else who lives different. Not every small town. Again, I ain't been to every small town. Been in quite a few, lived in quite a few for decades. And the reason I have this perception, because I'm not part of that system. I'm not part of that good old boy crew. I have friends that I know that feel like they're part of that crew. And they know that I'll tell them this shit to their face. The only way you don't see those things is if you're from that family. I remember living in this other town years ago. There was a family that had everything monopolized. In my 20s, I didn't understand it. I mean, they own damn near everything. They had about 3 or 4 different businesses. Whatever this guy said go, like he was fucking law enforcement. I look back now and it's actually smart. Because if they went somewhere else, they ain't shit. The reason y'all stay here is because here you have a name people recognize. You go to a big town, no one gives a fuck. You throw your name around. People like to name drop, especially white people like to name drop. No one gives a fuck. Who the fuck are you? Now, these guys ran a good business and they were hard workers and smart men with their money. Now, they fucked around on their wives and everybody in the neighborhood was sleeping with each other. It was an ongoing thing. Like, if a motherfucker was talking to you and interested in your business, he or she was trying to gain information to do something behind your back. That's the truth. Thing about people who know your business is they know more about you than you do. Other little examples like the city council thing I talk about. There's people I watch, I have it documented. They'll get away with anything in these small towns with law enforcement. Sit up at the store, drink coffee with them, go to breakfast with them. Nothing against that. Not saying you can't have a friend that's law enforcement, but just because we don't hang out. People often ask me, I'm all about law enforcement and our first responders. I respect them just like I do our military. I'm not a big fan of police officers. That doesn't mean I hate them. Doesn't mean I'm against them. It just means if I get pulled over, I'm usually nervous. Not because I'm a felon, not because I do drugs or anything. It's usually I feel like that most of the ones around here will do the wrong thing first. That's true. I'm not that white guy. I ain't never going to be that white guy. I don't want to be that fucking white guy. That doesn't mean that I'm a problem either. I'm a problem to people who can't manipulate me. Example, leave a car here one time that broke down, right down the road. They towed it the same fucking day. Within hours. There's a couple people down the road right here that are people in this community. Doesn't mean they're high class, doesn't mean anything, it means they're connected. Fucking car's been sitting in a parking lot for months. They drinking coffee, hanging out, donut shop, whatever, every fucking day. Don't do anything about it. I pissed one of them off one time over a real terroristic threat to myself. I took them in an email. Just use an example. See, no names. They didn't do shit. They didn't do shit. Once I called them on it, they showed up to check my permit while we were remodeling. Put stickers on my old cars and ain't running. They're in my driveway. Told me I need to get them off the grass. They need to be moved, but they're in my house, not nowhere else. Made a comment about when I had my motorcycle. I need to move it off the grass. Told them that fucking bike wasn't going nowhere. Better not touch my fucking bike. What? You heard me. I said, get off my property unless you come back with a warrant. See, people don't like to hear that shit. At that point, they fucked with me. See, that's how you get bogus ass charges, and that's what happens to people. That's a lot of experience in small towns. All you have to do is not be that person, not be from that family. All you have to do is offer resistance. All you have to do is not look. I started out with a lot of people, sir, yes, ma'am, and all that. It doesn't matter if you're 20 years younger than me. I talk to a lot of people like that. But it can go from fuck you to kiss my ass in no time. I don't have to fucking kiss your ass and brown nose to you and lick your fucking boots to get fucking respect. I respect everybody to fucking start with. It doesn't matter who they are or where they came from. I don't care what family they are, what color they are, what their fucking age is. I'm gonna respect everybody to start with. But I don't owe you no more respect than I do anybody else. See, and that's why people don't like people like us. So I got a lot more to say on this. I can keep going, as you know. But Jason Aldean's song, love it. Jason Aldean, love it. The message, love it. The small town mentality, I don't think so, and I don't think a lot of y'all believe that either. I think y'all know better than that. That sounds good. It's kind of like everybody's ready to start a revolution. Everybody's ready to fucking stand up to the system. Exactly, what y'all didn't do during COVID? Y'all didn't do any of that shit. What you're going to do at work when you're going to strike and then you don't do it? Y'all talk a lot of shit. You talk a lot of shit that you ain't going to do because you won't give up your comforts and luxuries. That's a fucking truth. Because if you were all about it, you would be no compromising. That's a fucking truth. So for now, pick up the rest of it. Savage Mind Podcast on Spotify, Apple Play, and Google Play. Talk to y'all later.